And when I started this 7 years ago, I was literally like MacGyver. Think about it. The technologies have improved so much. So I was, grabbing my toothbrush and some duct tape and maybe a rubber band and trying to piece together what I envisioned integrations to be. So when I found any type of software that had integration with another app or another accounting software, I grabbed on.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today is going to be an amazing episode. Our guest is the CEO of ICB USA. If you're not familiar with the ICB, it is the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers, which has become the largest bookkeeping institute in the world. Jan Haugo runs the American arm, and I'm so happy she's on the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, and I'm so excited to talk to more bookkeepers.
Yeah, and this is it. And your whole organization is an advocate for bookkeepers, so I think it's just perfect to have you on. And to lead us in, can you tell us a little bit of your career journey and who you are leading up to where you are now, leading the American arm of the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers?
Sure, absolutely. Thanks. So I own my own bookkeeping firm for about 20 years. The past 7, I've been virtual and paperless. So that was definitely a bit ahead of the curve. I've been an early adopter of technology, and that was really due to the influence of Intuit. In 2010, I was appointed to their Accountants Council, and I was very privileged to have the insight and participate in the fantastic and incredible changes that were about to happen in our industry. From there, I was appointed to the Intuit Trainer Writer Network and began researching and writing on third-party apps and integrations, and just really brought that into my firm and really started trying to get that the word out to other bookkeepers. And as I began to see the change, I moved my firm and started to test everything inside of us. So I wasn't really going to promote anything that I didn't have a great understanding of. The thought was, is if I could do this and help my clients and staff, then I could go out and help other bookkeepers. I attended conferences left and right and began to grow my network of friends across the country and really started envisioning what they needed in terms of helping, them get to the cloud as well as get their clients to the cloud. And that's kind of where I am right now in terms of how I kind of grew up this baby of technology and bookkeeping.
Wow, phenomenal. Such an exciting journey, I would say, in terms of you were way ahead of the curve, I think, thinking 7 years ago. And now here you are bringing all of your knowledge to an industry that I think really is hungry for it.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And you can see that with the numbers of increasing subscriptions with all of the SaaS-based products, even the third-party apps. There's just a tremendous growth. That's the way that everything's going. And, I think sometimes the clients push us into it. But overall, I think that the bookkeepers, they're the feet on the ground. Those are the ones that they're adopting the technology and they're realizing that it's saving them time, energy, and efforts in their businesses. And as they get that enlightenment, that I call it, they will start to adopt faster.
It really is an enlightenment. And I've seen that enlightenment happen. It's just phenomenal, actually, to hear just in the last couple of years, people go from being completely against it to literally light bulb going off and going, oh, maybe this isn't so bad, and then being a total advocate for it. So it's exciting. I used to work for Salesforce.com, which is one of the world's largest software as a service. You mentioned SaaS, and SaaS is software as a service. And so Salesforce, their founder, Mark Benioff, he led this campaign, the end of software, and he used to always talk about the fact that he is bringing power into the hands of small businesses because of the technology that's available today for small businesses. It was not even 10, 15 years ago, it would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to use the type of technology that gives these people the efficiencies and the gains in their business. It's such a great time to be in small business, and even better to be in a time where our audience is helping small business owners, helping small business owners. So taking that enlightenment to the market and helping these small business owners that might not even know about it is fantastic. And your history has a lot of that in it. Tell us a little bit about what you've seen in this last 7 years of being in the cloud, how you've helped some of these small business owners basically benefit from being virtual.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. So, it was really tough, as you said, to really get people's light bulbs to go off. And when I started this 7 years ago, I was literally like MacGyver. Think about it. The technologies have improved so much. So I was, grabbing my toothbrush and some duct tape and maybe a rubber band and trying to piece together what I envisioned integrations to be. So when I found any type of software that had integration with another app or another accounting software, I grabbed on. And one of the first ones that I grabbed onto was Canon and SmartVault. SmartVault was my document storage management solution. It was secure, encrypted, and at the time, everybody's concerns were, oh my gosh, all my documents and everything aren't safe in the cloud. So I found the utmost security that I could in any type of document storage for a small business. And that was the way that I was going to really comfort them in that. And then Canon scanners started integrating directly into SmartVault. So at that point, I could put a Canon scanner down. Somebody could push a button, put their bills on. There was no bill.com back then. And went ahead and we brought that in to our SmartVault. We got notification, and my staff of bookkeepers and I would go ahead and work on that client's books. And it was really, enabling us to move forward. But the thing was, my clients were still scared. And that was the biggest thing, is how do you transition bookkeepers and other people? So I started to work with my clients. I went out and I bought a bunch of $200 Canon scanners, and I took them to all my clients, and I sat down and I said, here's the deal. We're going to make this better. We're going to be here for you, and we're going to move you forward into the next generation and technologies. And I sat that Canon scanner down. I'd already pre-configured it to go right into SmartVault, and I said, all you have to do is push a button, put your receipts and your bills on here, push the button and let it go through. And I gave them that, and I gave them my cell phone number, and I said, you text, you call me, anything you need, and we will be there for you. We will take care of it. And they knew Canon because Canon is a well-renowned name in printing and faxing and everything at the time. So that's how we got my clients to move forward, and I had 100% adoption. And that was amazing for me to see that they trusted me so much as their bookkeeper, and that I was able to bring them technologies that help make them feel comfortable and then start to transition. So I took that story out to several bookkeepers and really help them understand that if you were there through the transition period, and if you are there to help your clients adopt the technologies that you believe in, because it may not be SmartVault and Canon for everybody, but it could be whatever that software is that you truly believe and you trust, you're going to come through as confident, trusted advisors, and they will follow you. And I have been able to work with so many wonderful bookkeepers and helping them to transition their clients and grow their businesses. And that to me is just such a testimonial to the power of the bookkeeper and the voice of the bookkeeper, and how you can really help your clients as well as help yourself grow. And that to me is how I got this all going.
Well, I've been holding back a hell yeah, because that is awesome. That is such an awesome story of leadership.
Thank you.
And tenacity. Really, all the benefits. I'm just sitting here thinking, wow, leadership to this business owner that's trying to piece things together, trying to make their business work. And here you're walking in there with a box scanner, investing in the business. And it's like the Calvary's come to save the day, which the perception of that. It's like, how does a client ever question, not having you on their team, right? So I'm going to imagine that your retention of your customers is extremely high, because if I had someone that's watching my back like that, I'm never letting them go. I'm just going to trust them that they're going to do the great work with me, which is going to lead to all sorts of great benefits. So that is such a great story. And for the listeners today, it's just to be thinking, how can you be a leader like this in your customers' lives?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you have to put yourself in their shoes. And ultimately, we are in their shoes, because as an entrepreneur or a solopreneur bookkeeper, we've got to do the same things. But we know our clients just as well as they know themselves, right? We know their kids. We know where they go to school. We, know their wives. We know where they get their hair cut. I mean, we know these intimate details. And the thing is we've got to use that as a power to go back to our clients and say, you trust me? Let's move forward. I'm going to be here for you. And that's one of the biggest things, I think, with this shift that everybody's so nervous about, that yes, it is a scary time, but it's also a very fantastic time and a very great opportunity for bookkeepers to really move forward and take that and leverage it to get themselves in a better position and a trusted position for their clients. And like you said, they'll never let them go. Never.
And there's so much opportunity. I mean, watching, it was the same story back with Salesforce. The people that we were talking to, this was early 2000s, we were talking to them and they were like, oh, we can't have our data in the internet, access and all the similar concerns that people have. And what's going to happen? We're going to outsource. We'll no longer have salespeople or service people. It's not like that at all. In fact, the ecosystem around it for businesses, implementation and education and helping understand data and all sorts of, bringing new technology to the space. I mean, we're just at the beginning of it. I mean, there's going to be work for decades just sorting out how do we make this great. So I think I really have to echo what you're saying about this massive opportunity. And it's going to be the people like you that, I mean, you're a pioneer. I mean, you had like an axe and like a little camping stove on your back. I mean, we're talking early days here. People were probably like worried for you going off into the uncharted territory. But now we're still early. But it's the people that pick up those camping lanterns and the axe and go out and maybe go into uncharted territory that will learn and be ahead of the curve and really take advantage of it.
Yes, absolutely. And again, I think the biggest thing is that bookkeepers are hearing this, exactly what you said with the Salesforce mind. Bookkeepers are going away. Bookkeepers are going away. It's such a fantastic mantra right now that I think it puts fear instead of confidence in bookkeepers. And we, as ICB, we need to switch that around. We need to provide resources for them to understand, no, this isn't going to happen. First off, ICB is going to be here to protect you and to protect what you stand for. And then secondly, we're going to help educate you and move you forward so that you have that lamp and that axe and everything that you need to move forward into developing your business. And we'll build that community. And that's truly what it's all about, because the job isn't going away. Like you said, there's going to be work for decades. Is it going to be the same job? Absolutely not. But it will be a bookkeeping job of some type. But you have to position yourself properly so that you are able to handle the shift and the changes.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. And I would say, for the most part, that while it can be daunting, once just dipping the toe in the pool, it can be very exciting times as well. And I sort of say that with caution, because I know, it's not easy. Change is not easy for anyone, but just get your toe in there if you haven't already and start to look at some of the apps and some of the things. And the ICB, like you mentioned, I think is a great place to start. Places like that. And in Canada, we have the Institute of Professional Bookkeepers, which I know ICB has a good relationship with globally. But what I love about the ICB is that they are really forward thinkers. And just looking and working the time that I've had, forward thinkers, and that's what's needed today. It's what is coming tomorrow. Who are the people that are actually working on what's happening in the industry today? And so don't try and do this alone. Reach out to associations like the ICB and like the IPBC and find out and get help because there's so much happening. I mean, Intuit is fantastic in terms of putting on events where there's education and training. And so it's learning all of that, but it's also learning that positioning of how to actually position to your customers why you're essential in their business. And for me, if I think about the work we do and I have a couple of different businesses as a business owner, my bookkeeper I really feel like she's a part of my family. It's like I couldn't survive without her. The way she treats, because everything we do is very sensitive. It's my money, it's our business, it's, these are important things. So that education is extremely important to make sure that you have the same relationships with your customer as I do with my bookkeeper, which is she's essential and she leads and she brings me new technology and she makes me feel like she's got my back.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the role of the bookkeeper. They've got the back. And when I look at what you need in terms of your life, and it sounds so funny, you need a doctor, you need a great general practitioner, you need a dentist, right? You need a CPA. You may or may not need a lawyer, depending on what you've got going, but you always need a bookkeeper. And those are the key people that kind of help keep you running in terms of being an individual who's moving forward in this world. And they're the surrounding companions, if you will, to complement your life so that you've got your all of your aspects of your life covered. And the bookkeeper is right there. And I truly believe that we're professionals. And what bothers me is that, when I mention all of these people, we get looked down on as, oh, we're just bookkeepers. But I am very passionate about saying that we study hard, we work hard, we get our certification, we get our education. And this is not a fly-by-night type of person. A bookkeeper is someone who is very dedicated and very impassioned about the people they're working for and the services that they provide. They want to provide the best. So they get CPE, they get their education, they stay current with the technology. And to me, that is a professional. That's not an amateur.
I totally agree. Totally agree. Completely undervalued in terms of where that is today. But just like things are changing with technology, there's lots of forces at work to change the perception of what a bookkeeper really is to small business. And I mean, I feel that myself. I mean, I'm an advocate. I love what they do. And I tell a story of my father who ran a small business. And you know what? He was amazing at what he did. He was the technician. If you've read E-Myth, he was a technician. He was an electrician, amazing electrician, studied. He had his master's, if you will, maybe even a PhD level of electrical. He could work on airplanes, rigs. He could work on hospitals, electro dams, like electrical hydro dams. There was nothing he did not know about his craft, yet he was terrible at the books. And where he went to was his accountant. And the accountant is the guy that wasn't what he needed. He needed someone that could help him understand what all those numbers meant on a day-to-day, month-to-month basis so that at the end of the year, the results were different. And so I think back, this was 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when his business did not thrive. It was a bookkeeper who could have made a great bookkeeper could have made an incredible difference. So he could have just done the great work that he did, and the bookkeeper would have handled and helped him bring that to more customers and help him, make sure that the finances were right. So for me, it's deep in my heart because every time I help a bookkeeper, I know I'm helping my dad.
Oh, I love that story. No, that just almost brings me to tears. It's so true. I mean, truly, it is having that initial person to help, guide and give you the direction that you need is so critical. And I think when you look here in the United States anyway, the failure rate of startup businesses is so extremely high. And the reason is because almost everyone says, oh, I can do this. But the thing is, you absolutely can do it. I'm not knocking anybody in terms of that, but that's not what you're trying to do. You want to run your startup. You want to grow that baby, and you have to have a support system. And that support system, is that bookkeeper, the person who says, well, you need to file your license here. You need to pay your taxes here. We need to, go ahead and increase your sales here because your gross profit margin isn't enough. That is the person who's going to help make your business successful. And, I think people look at it as a cost which it is a cost, but if you look at it, it's an investment in your future. And that's the way that bookkeepers need to be looked at and valued. They are investments in small businesses' futures.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. And I absolutely echo it. And I was just speaking with a woman this morning who works with lawyers. And she works with a lot of lawyers just getting started. And, they try and do this work themselves thinking they're saving money. And it's such a great example because, a lawyer gets paid a lot of money for their time, right? And yet they're trying to do bookkeeping. They're trying to figure out their finances. And it's like, I told her, I said, you've got to, every meeting you have with them, you have to help them see the light that this is the last thing they should be doing. Give it to somebody who can do a great job of it, not a mediocre job. And I'm going to say that, sure, there's people that can do it okay, but you're not going to be able to bring the experience that a bookkeeper can bring, the eyes on the books, the eyes on the health of the financials, like a bookkeeper. This is what they do. It's like saying, well, I can go and defend myself in court too, right? But would anybody ever do that? Now, sure, it's maybe a bit of a grand example, but listen, this is the job of our listeners, and it really is. You've got to believe in yourself and what you do, just like Jan is talking about. Believe in what you do, be a leader for what you do, and go in with that message.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This has been such a great conversation. Let's talk more about the ICB USA and what you're doing there. Let's talk about how we had your CEO, I hope I got the right, globally, Gary Carter was on, and we had a great conversation. And after our conversation, I said, listen, I really want to have Jan on the show. So tell me a little bit how you got involved with ICB and while now you're leading ICB USA.
Yep. So again, one of the outcomes of me trying to really build that knowledge about technology was attending conferences and just developing my network of friends. So I have friends. I'm so blessed to have so many friends, and I truly call them friends because everyone is just so supportive around the country and around the world. I've just met so many wonderful people. When the ICB came and they were looking for someone to lead this charge for them, they started asking around, and my name just popped up for them. And several people recommended me for the job. So that's how they found me. I think it was kind of like they uncovered a rock and there I was.
Perfect. Well, they found someone, I think, really, just in hearing your story today, really you're well positioned to take what I think the industry needs in the United States forward with your background in virtual. I mean, it's so important. So now tell us a little bit about the history now of ICB USA. Gary did mention it a bit, but you're relatively new into the marketplace.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We had a soft opening February of last year, so we are just crossing over into our first full official year.
Yeah, it's like a happy anniversary, 1-year anniversary.
It is. It's so exciting. So my job is to really develop the program in terms of what that looks like for the United States bookkeepers. And I think Gary had mentioned that we have ICBs all over the country. And so what ICB tries to do is to come in and localize the experience for the bookkeeper in that area. So ICB Australia has done this, Ireland's, the UK, and now it's my job. So I am taking the concepts of what they have and then transforming them into what works here in the United States. And it's a bit of a different experience somewhat for the ICB USA than it might be in a different country. But we've got higher standards in terms of education. We have some great training providers, and I'm always looking for more training providers. And I'm working on developing out networks. So there's great networks across the country, and I'm working on talking to them saying, hey, let's work together and get ICB in there so that we can help grow your network as well as grow our ICB base in that area. And I actually have to say that we have a member in every state now. So I just think it's really fantastic.
That's exciting. And I think Gary said you're up around 1,000 total in the United States. That number may have changed since we spoke, but that's really decent.
Yeah, I think for a year, I mean, although I'm not you want to go out and kill the world, I think, slay it when you can. But I would love 10,000 members. But 1,000 is very respectable, given how large the United States is, and how I don't only just have to get members on board. I have to change the perception of what bookkeepers do and why this is relevant. Because I feel like Oprah when I walk out there, and you get a certification, and you get a certification, and you get a certification, because everybody is just so certification happy. But what makes us different is that you don't come in unless you take an exam. It's kind of like a placement exam. You go to college, we need to know where your skills are. How can we help you? And then additionally, our standards are higher. I mean, I truly believe that the bookkeeper needs to really raise the standards of what their accounting education needs to be, so that they can really interpret those books moving forward and create those relationships. And I get a lot of CPAs who say, well, I let this, a lot of bookkeepers, saying that they let the CPAs handle some of this type of work. And I said, well, that was the old way. The new way is no longer. You can do this, and I have faith in you. So that's really what it's about, is raising that standard. And then I here am very technology oriented, so I really try to implement the technology, and they can't move up in our program without having some type of certification on their software. So Xero, Sage, FreshBooks, QuickBooks, whatever that might be, they need to be certified in order to move up in the ICB USA course.
Fantastic. Well, I think it's the one that really is, well, there's a couple things, but the one I really like is this whole concept of giving them what is going to be needed in terms of education and positioning to do the work that's new today. Technology is taking over some of that. And so what is it that they need to focus on? And some of those consultative approaches and analytics into a business owner's numbers is where they're going to need to go. And the exciting thing is it's a way more valuable perception when you start to talk about the actual numbers. So you're an organization that's really driving that. I love the fact that you're certifying people before they join the group. It's kind of it keeps who's in the group. It's like, someone's done a certification, they're a little bit vetted, right? You're not just going into a group of people that just decided to show up one day. They're people who care. Right. They've got skin in the game. And that's what makes it valuable. And I love that. And so whenever I'm searching for things and looking for things, I'm looking for value. I'm looking for where I want to hang around people that are really serious about success. If I surround myself with people who are serious about success, guess what? It's only going to help me be more successful.
Yep, absolutely.
Beautiful. Jen, any other thing you'd like to share about ICB USA? And obviously we're going to have links on our website to find out more and get involved. But is there anything else you'd like to mention?
I think the biggest thing for me is that I want everyone to understand that I'm very approachable. You can reach out to me via literally every network out there. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, it's all, I'm very, very accessible. But the thing is that I'm developing this program for American bookkeepers and for their needs. So I've already positioned several mentorships for bookkeepers and internships and things like this that our industry needs that might be different than the other countries. So if you see or you feel that there is something that the bookkeepers here in the United States need, shoot me a note. Let me know if you think that we're lacking. And again, we're still a startup, so my resources have to be allocated appropriately. But that doesn't mean I can't put it on the task list and that we can't work towards it as a goal. And because this is ours. This is ICB USA, and this is made and prepared especially for the United States bookkeepers. But I really want to do a great job in terms of honoring them and respecting them and helping them grow for the future.
That's excellent. And it sounds like the number one thing to do is just to reach out to you. And obviously through this conversation, how can someone not think that you're approachable after this conversation and extremely generous and really switched on when it comes to the industry and the business and where things are going. So listeners, if you're listening to this podcast, you're serious about your success, this is something you're going to want to do is just click down. If you're on your iPhone or you're on your Android, click down, hit that link. It's going to take you right to all of Jen's contact information, and you can literally be chatting with Jan just by hitting the Twitter button here pretty like instantly. So it's exciting, the world that we're living in. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much. I had a great time. It was incredible talking to you. I appreciate it.
Pleasure is all mine. That wraps another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast, and what an excellent episode it was. To learn more about today's guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.